Welcome back, and today we're going to be working on our poetical analysis. So to start with, I want to look at our examples. Okay, we have a couple of examples here that take slightly different approaches to how you display your analysis, but they both do essentially the same thing. So we're going to be looking at poetical analysis of Isaiah 56 and then a poetical analysis of Psalm 1. So let's look at Isaiah 56 first. This is what's labeled as the second example of the poetical analysis. So we'll take a look at that. And our poetical analysis here, what we're doing is similar to the structural analysis because we want to think about it in terms of similarities. What is similar and what's dissimilar? So we have thus says, this is lowercase a, and then Yahweh, lowercase b. Then we have keep justice. We have lowercase c, lowercase d. And then we have and do righteousness. Now here we have C with an apostrophe and D with an apostrophe. This is where we start to actually see some what we would call parallelism. Because you see, thus says Yahweh, keep justice and do righteousness. There's nothing parallel to thus says Yahweh. Nothing that's directly similar to that or directly antithetical to that. Similar would be like a parallel statement saying the same thing in a different way, and antithetical would be overturning it, saying the exact opposite. But when we get to keep justice and do righteousness, we see two phrases that are saying the same thing just in two different ways. And so the way that we indicate that is we say C and D, and then C prime and D prime, okay? So we have and do righteousness. And then we have for my salvation is about to come. And so salvation seems somewhat parallel to righteousness. So we have D double prime, so it's a repetition of justice and righteousness. So we have justice, D, righteousness, D prime, and then salvation, D double prime, or D with two apostrophes, is about to come. And my righteousness, which is directly parallel to righteousness above, would be D triple prime, to be revealed, right? My righteousness to be revealed. Now, since we just had to come, salvation is about to come and righteousness is about to be revealed, we have D triple prime and then we have E prime, okay? And then we have blessed is the man who does this. Blessed is has no parallel. The man has no parallel. And then who does has a parallel. Because if we look up, we have and do righteousness, right, in verse 3. And so we had C prime there and we have C double prime here. And then this, well, what does this refer to? This refers to righteousness. And so righteousness there is going to give us D with four of the apostrophes. And so this would be quadruple prime. And then, and the Son of Man. And so we have the man and the Son of Man. Those are parallel to one another. And so we have G prime, who lays hold of it. And so this is similar to who does. And so we have C repeated here. And then who lays hold on it. And so that's our D being repeated again. Who keeps. And so that's similar to who lays hold. From defiling. Now here we have the negative, right? And so this is antithetical. This is the opposite of this or righteousness or on it, right? So this is the opposite of that. So instead of being another one of the primes, it's going to be de-negated because it's antithetical parallelism. And so who keeps from defiling the Sabbath? Well, the Sabbath hasn't occurred yet in the passage, so we're just going to give that an H. We don't have any parallels there. And then, and keeps his hand. And so this is going to be right along the same line with who does, who keeps, who lays hold of, all of those. This is going to be our repetition of C. From doing any evil. Now again, we have a negation here, but this is the second time that it's negated. So this is antithetical to D, parallel to D minus. So it'd be D minus prime, okay? Now, I know this may be a little bit hard to follow at first, and like structural analysis, I'm not fully anticipating that you're going to just like knock this out of the park and just, knock my socks off. But I do want you to try it, okay? I want you to try to kind of work through the passage, and you can use this as an example. I know the way that this is laid out may not work for you. It may work really well for you, okay? But that's just it's a matter of visual learner versus auditory learner and that sort of thing, right? Some things work for one group of people, something works for another. And so the other version, this is a poetical analysis of Psalm 1. Now this is one that I did in seminary, and so you can see up at the top, this is from OT 765, Exegesis in the Prophetic Texts, submitted to a professor named Dr. Petter at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. And so what we're going to see here, you'll see the Hebrew text to the left, which obviously I'm not expecting you to do anything with. And then off to the right, you'll see the English text. The blessings of the man are that he has not walked in the counsel of the wicked ones, in the way of the sinners he has not stood, in the seat of the scorners he has not sat. So what we have here is we have A, and so I'm using that first whole line, the blessings of the man are that. That's A. And then B, he has not walked. And then C, in the counsel of the wicked ones. And then C prime would be in the way of the sinners, because this is repeated. It's a prepositional phrase, just like in the counsel of the wicked ones. And then he has not stood would be parallel to he has not walked. And then in the seat of the scorners would be parallel to in the way of the sinners and in the counsel of the wicked ones. And then he has not sat would be parallel to he has not stood, he has not walked. Now here I'm going to give you an example of why this matters, because I'm sure at some point in this you're like, why am I even doing this, right? Well, here's an easy example of how when you recognize the repetitions in this poem, immediately you have preaching points. Just in this one verse, blessed is the man who has not walked, who has not stood, who has not sat. And so where are you walking? Where are you standing? Where are you sitting? Right? You can preach that. And that's just one verse. We're not even looking at the rest of the passage yet, right? We're just saying, if you want to be blessed, what gets you moving, right? Are you walking around? Are you moving around with wicked people? Who do you stand near? Who are you willing to be associated with, right? Are you standing in the way of sinners? And there's a really funny story here about somebody who misunderstood this to mean you should not stand in their way, like get in their way. That's not what this is saying. But it means like standing in their path. Are you standing along with them in their path, right? And then where do you sit? Where do you dwell? Where are you known to be, right? Where can people know to look for you? Is that with the scorners? Now see, that is poetical analysis, and that just gave us a decent 3-point sermon, okay? You could preach that, and that's one verse. And so this is worthwhile, right? I mean, obviously, like it took me a little while to get to the point where I could do this. It took some practice, right? But the more you practice this, the better you get at it, and the easier it is for you to pull stuff like this out of it, okay? And then we'll see, throughout the rest of this passage, but rather in the law of Yahweh is his delight, and in his laws he meditates by day and by night, and so that's D and D prime, right? Those are parallel statements. And he will be like a tree transplanted upon a channel of water, which gives fruit in its suitable time. Its leaves will not wither, right? And so we have E, and then we have a negation of E. And all which he does will prosper. And so we have F and then F prime, right? And then not so with the wicked ones. We bring ourselves all the way back up to verse 1 with A. We have a negation of A because they are as chaff which the wind drives asunder. And so this is a parallel of its leaves will not wither, right? Using that same sort of like metaphor of trees and that sort of thing. Instead, they will not arise. This is a negation of B. he has not walked, because we have some similar language there. They will not arise, the wicked ones in judgment, nor the sinners in the righteous congregation. So these are negations of see from before, because Yahweh knows the way of the righteous and the way of the wicked will perish. Okay, so this is poetical analysis. Now, like I said, I'm not expecting you to, just knock this out of the park, right? I'm expecting you to give this a shot, put in some solid effort. Send me a copy of it if you want, and I'll take a look at it. Just send it to me, earlier rather than later. Give it a shot and see what you can do, okay? And I'll give you detailed feedback, just like I did with the structural outline, and you can keep working on this. And maybe this is something that you really like. I mean, this is actually, I really enjoy this. I really enjoy poetical analysis. I really enjoy structural analysis. There's a reason why I like teaching this class, right? I really enjoy this stuff. So feel free to ask me questions. Let me know if there's anything that I can help you with, anything that I can be praying for you about. I'm here for you. You got my email address. You can schedule Zoom time with me if you need. I'm here for you, okay? See you next time.